give the oaths, and we'll do each trustee individually. As I call your name, come up here. Justice Stewart will guide you through that. John Mitchell is our newest trustee, and he'll be sworn in first. We're so honored to have his family members with him: John Mitchell Jr., Beverly Mitchell, his wife, Meredith Hamilton, his daughter, and Melanie Sneed, his daughter. And Beverly will be holding the Bible for John.
honor for me to be here, Mr. Al. I thank you for asking me to come. I'm from a huge family of educators. My parents were educators. My dad was an administrator at Sanford. I taught 26 years in public school, all in Birmingham, and retired. And my wife is an educator. My son wants to be an educator. He's got his degree and wants to teach. My daughter is an educator. My mother-in-law, my brother is superintendent at Homewood City Schools. We got education in our DNA, and you all are a huge part of that. And I want to encourage you, because every decision you make impacts people that you don't see. But you have a high calling, and you've been chosen or placed here because God has a purpose for you. And we all want to support you in everything that you do, and we want you to feel that support. And God bless you for hours upon hours of decisions that you make and things that you do that will impact young people that you'll never see. But they will feel it, and they will know that you have thought of them. And it's my contention that as long as you keep a young person in front and in mind, with God pushing you, that you can never make a wrong decision. Let's pray together. Our Father, we pause just a moment to reflect on people that are hurting in Colorado. We pray your blessings on those that are deceased or that are severely hurt. We know that you can comfort and you can heal. This is a time when we ask you to intercede in the lives of people that are devastated. We pray that you would keep us all away from harm and those that would do harm to others. It's senseless, and we know that only you can intervene and stop someone from doing that. We do want to lift up this board, and we thank you for their knowledge, the things that they've learned throughout their lives to get to this point where they make decisions to affect change and to make things better for students that need help, for everybody that needs a hand in getting to whatever their next level is. We appreciate all these folks in the room and the way they support and come here to listen and to offer assistance. Every single person in the room we're grateful for, and we know that you have ordained everyone being here. So we're grateful for this day that you've given us, the beauty of it, and we thank you for offering it to us, and in turn we offer our lives to you. And all these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll. Here. Minutes are approved. Public comment. Anyone signed up for public comment? We have a special recognition that for our outgoing board members. The oath being given to the newly appointed trustees, along with the words of encouragement from Pastor Cleveland about his family's love and commitment to education, is a fitting prelude to what we're about to do, to recognize service. This board, as long as all of us have been a part of it, has not really desired attention, with the exception of me wanting to throw my gavel from time to time at the far end of the table before Jeff Newman got here. And I apologize for that. I don't have my fingers crossed when I say that. But to a person, each trustee has served with humility, integrity, character, and I could say so many other things about all the board. But our focus right now is on Frank Caldwell and Ron Fantroy. And I can assure you I'm going to thoroughly embarrass you right now, as Ron said at last month's meeting. But each one of these individuals came with a solemn commitment to be engaged on this board and to work to the best of their abilities. Frank Caldwell readily assumed his position on the Finance Committee. He brought to bear his extensive experience in the healthcare industry and in business throughout the state, and his involvement in Montgomery. Ron Fantroy, plant manager of Shaw Industries. Ron brought his good judgment, his life experiences, his just business knowledge, and his involvement with the community college system locally, as Frank did as well, and was just a tremendous asset as chairman of the policy committee. When I called Ron and asked him if he'd be chairman, there was not that much of a pause. And with the responsibility and demands on his time as plant manager, I expected, I really didn't know if it was 50-50 whether Ron would accept it. He said yes, I'll be glad to do it. And he didn't hesitate, and he has administered and run that committee flawlessly. Ron's values and standards have been exemplary and have been an inspiration to me, I think, as well as the rest of the board. And I think that I can say the same thing about each one of them. But a lot has happened in the past several years. I will remember Frank, when we were in the governor's office, we all assembled there prior to being sworn in, I believe. And I was walking with you and Melba and one of the past presidents of Bevel State, who had come with you that day. And he said, it's a new day. It's a new day for the community college system. And that has actually come to pass with the leadership of this board and the leadership of the chancellor and his staff. I want to give a thanks from the entire board to each one of you gentlemen. We thank you for your service, your engagement. Minnie, we thank you for your support for Ron. That means means so much having that support at home and encouragement at home. And Frank, you had your trusted life mate Melba at your side. She was an encouragement to you, I know, and we appreciate her support for you. And we're so sorry about her passing. But these gentlemen were engaged, and those here probably know that this is just not something that you show up the second Wednesday of each month and just raise your hand. Things seem to go smoothly most of the time, but there's a lot of work, there's a lot of time, and there's just sometimes a lot of sweating and debate that goes on and in making these decisions and discussion. And I just appreciate what these gentlemen have done. I will end this in saying that in evaluating individuals and what a person can mean to somebody, one of the things in reviewing that is how they affect the people that they come in contact with. What kind of impact do they have on other people's lives? And I can tell you, both of these gentlemen, everyone on this board and everyone in this system that has come in contact with them are better people because of that relationship. Chancellor Baker.
I echo your comments. Ron Fantroy is the kind of gentleman that he doesn't waste a lot of time talking. But when he talks, you need to listen. Because he's thorough, he's thought through the process. And when we started the new experiment, we had no board policies.
Troy and Frank Caldwell this award of special recognition and appreciation for his dedication and exemplary service as trustee. Governor Kay Ivey, the president. Gentlemen, if y'all will come forward. In addition, we have a commendation from the governor to each of you, and we y'all feel free to say a few words.
Thank you, Al. First of all, I just want to thank God, number one. And number two, I want to thank my wife for her support. She has accompanied me to almost every board meeting that I've attended, even though you haven't seen it. I've seen it every time. She conceded to coming and let you look at it today, so that was a tough thing to do. I want to thank Al, thank Chancellor Baker, thank all of the board members. It has absolutely been a pleasure to work with this group, people of integrity, people that I respect highly, people that demonstrate respect toward me. We didn't always agree on everything, but one of the things I feel very, very good about is that we didn't make a public spectacle of our disagreements. We just dealt with them, came to consensus, and made decisions that we felt like was in the best interest of the system. Then I want to thank all of you. It has been a pleasure meeting all of you. You rank number 2 in the most influential people, as far as I'm concerned, in the world in terms of the lives that you impact. Good ministers, number 1. Good ministers, number 1. Righteous ministers, number 1. Educators, number 2. Educators, number 2. So it has been an humbling experience for me to work with people that I know helped make me who I am today. So thank you all very, very much. The first president's meeting that I attended, one of the comments I made was that one thing I could assure you all is that I wouldn't necessarily make decisions or be involved in decisions that would necessarily be the most popular or what you might like, but I guarantee you, whatever decisions I was involved in, if I gave a yes vote to it, it was because I believe it was in the best interest of you and your constituents, people that you work for, students. Thank y'all very, very much. I've said more than I want to say.
I tell you, that's a hard act to follow. Ron's always been that way, though. But I thank God, too, for all his blessings. And most of all, I thank him for his influence on the legislature for developing this Board of Trustees. And it's a new day in the community college because of it. And I've just been overjoyed that I was able to share with some of these people, you know. I didn't get to serve out my full term like Ron. I had to leave after 2.5 years, but my wife got sick and I was able to spend the last 6 months with her. But I've enjoyed every minute of it. And this board I've been on a lot of boards and corporations and nonprofits over the 50-something years. And I've worked with a lot of different groups, but I tell you what, this board works together so well, and they're such dedicated human beings that I've never seen anything exactly like it. And I know that they've got a lot of things on their agenda to accomplish, and I believe they'll do it. And I know one thing, I'll keep them in my prayers. Thank you much.
receiving real property is shown here. Raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item 8A2 is the purchase of real property and lease of ATM of the Alabama Community College System. This time once again, this was on the work session last month, and it's this time I'll entertain a motion. There's been a motion by Ms. Brown. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McInerney. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of item 8A2, the purchase of real property and lease of ATM by the Alabama Community College signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Section 9, personnel. No personnel. Section 10, Chancellor's report.
I'm looking for, Ben, will you come forward? I have asked Ben to give us a brief update. As you well know, we've been really implementing the new DRP system, and we've kind of reached the point where we have some schools close to being on that. So, Ben?
Thank you, Chancellor Baker. I'll try to speak into the microphone a little better. The one ACCS project has been ongoing for about a year now. This Friday marks 1 year to the day that the contract was executed and we began work on the project. The community colleges, the system office, and everyone have worked tirelessly over the last year. There's been a lot of sharing, a lot of teamwork, a lot of hard work that's gone into this. We had some major milestones along the way with the system office going live in October. The 9 cohort 1 schools that are currently using Banner are beginning to go live and transition to the cloud environment beginning this month with financial aid. Over the next month and a half, we began transitioning to the student module, so it culminates in registration in early July. Finance, accounts receivable, and HR for payroll begin processing in the cloud environment on July 1st. So our first group will be transitioned to that cloud environment this summer on schedule, on time, on budget. It's taken a tremendous amount of work and time and dedication by the schools and their staff, a tremendous amount of teamwork, because this is this was several 100,000 hours worth of work by the community college system as a whole. The consultants from Elucian and the team here at ACCS. There's a lot of work left to be done with cohort 2, and we're taking some lessons learned from cohort 1. So we're going to become a little more transparent with dates, have a little more frequent and open communication regarding the project structure, the timeline, and to help alleviate some of the concern out there, there's a significant amount of resources devoted to training. Our cohort 1 schools were familiar with Banner as they've been using it for several years, but our cohort 2 schools have a very limited experience with that. We're driving that forward as quickly and the best way we can. So we're looking at regionalizing training versus some other requiring it to be here at the system office. So we can help alleviate some of the travel concerns and the constraints on budgets that we faced. And I think that's basically it. We're actually in a really good place with the project. A year ago, it's taken a lot of work and a lot of good people to get it here, but if you'd asked me a year ago if I could stand here and say that we were here, it would have been it caused a little unease. I'm happy we're here. I thank each of you for your support. Without your direction and your guidance, this would never be able to happen. And without the presidents and schools supporting this project the way they have, we would not be in the shape we are. This has been great, and you guys have done a tremendous job. So
personnel here instead of with them, but overall, everyone has been very supportive, and it's just, I think they're being commended for whatever they've shown in cooperation. This is probably something that 3 years ago, no one would have assumed could have ever happened. But it's happening, and it's on schedule. So it's something I think everyone can take pride in. Thank you. Keith Phillips. I've asked Keith to give an update on the ATN program. In a fairly short summary, but see, we have to make a report on an annual basis that demonstrates what we have done, what we have accomplished, and the impact of all of it on the ATN program and the federal grant that we received. So I ask you to update the board on that.
Thank you, Chancellor. Chairman Thompson, distinguished board members, thank you for this opportunity to present on Alabama Technology Network today. Chancellor sent me briefs, so I've got 14 PowerPoints that we'll go through. So we'll start out with the very first one is a 32-year timeline, and I'm not going to go through these 32 years, but I will make the point this is our 15th year being a part of the Alabama Community College system. So if you look at our organizational structure and locations around the state, we call it partnerships. We're located on 15 community college campuses, and we have 3 university sub-recipient partners, University of Alabama, Auburn University, and University of Alabama, Huntsville. Let me say to all the presidents here today that host us on your college, thank you for your cooperation and your hospitality. We look forward to many more years of collaboration and working together. I just wish to thank you for that. So, as Chancellor Baker mentioned, we're part of a federal program. It's called the NIST, Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Every state in the country has one MEP affiliate. We're Alabama's. Also, Puerto Rico has one. So there's 51 MEPs around the country. What's significant about this organization is a national network. Each one of them is a little unique and a little different. Some states are university systems. Some are 501c3s that are almost entirely third-party delivery models, consultant models. And there are a handful of us that are part or embedded in the community college systems. Louisiana is our closest MEP poll, which is part of the community college system, and that really took place 2 years ago. So they're reaching out to us, trying to learn from our experiences of being involved in the community college system. So if you look at an organization, we've got 50 employees. Those employees, 30 of those are field staff engineers who come from industry. Most of them are engineers. In the last 20 quarters, and this number is dated because we've added a quarter, but we've conducted over 1,922 projects around the state in the last quarter, and it's more than that because I haven't updated my PowerPoint, but we served manufacturers in 63 counties around the state. So our key task, the first one is not by accident that it's number one. We want to be a trusted partner with business and industry in the state. Not a training provider, not a consultant, trusted partner. The other key task that we have as an organization is implementation of solutions and innovation, develop and train employees, and assess and improve processes. If you look at our organization in terms of how the areas of practice that we deliver in, we call these our teams. Continuous improvement, industrial maintenance and technology, with the industrial Internet of Things, Industry 4.0. Technology is incredibly important in industrial maintenance today. Environmental health and safety is another one of our team, and one that we're seeing to evolve and develop is leadership and management development. We're seeing a lot of needs for entry-level and mid-level supervisory training around the state. So I won't spend time going through these, but these are kind of a list of some of our services. For this particular example is continuous improvement, industrial maintenance and technology, environmental health and safety. So we have a catalog of services. And if you count the number of services that we have the capability to deliver, it's about 186 products and services. We don't deliver all 186 products and services annually. But these that we're listing are probably the most important ones and the ones that we deliver the most of. So this map kind of tells you what our FY 2018 looked like. We actually had 397 contracts with manufacturers around the state. We served 357 distinct individual unique clients around the state. And we had 351 of those contracts that was completed. Someone always asks, what happened to the other 46? They rolled over into 2019. So we started the year out with a pipeline of work. The map on the left is the regional workforce councils. That's the number of projects that we completed in each of those contracts, rather, that we had in each of those regional workforce councils. The map on the right, I'm going to apologize to you, there's not a good way for me to show that illustration. It's hard to see on the PowerPoint, but what we do is we track our projects based on type. If it was an industrial maintenance and technology type, it's color coded, and we were doing it with pinpoints, and you couldn't really tell what was taking place because there was a lot of pinpoints. So what we've really gone to is a pie graph. And for us, that gives us a heat map of where we've got staff located versus where the project's taking place, and we get an idea of what skill sets we need. Maybe we have some deficiencies where staff are having to travel a great distance. If we see quality systems is up in North Alabama, then we need to look at, do we need a quality person, a quality service person in North Alabama? But that's a representation of the map of the projects we're conducting. If you were to draw a line just south of Birmingham, on that line north, 60% plus for manufacturers in the state takes place north of that line. So that's one of the areas where, if you look at our distribution of our resources, that's where our skill sets and our people are probably a concentration. So these are the numbers that we're extremely proud of. This is what MEP measures us by. Being a part of MEP, every company that we do business with is going to be independently surveyed. So these impacts, that's not key, and it's not MEP. These are the clients reporting the impacts of the services that they receive from the work that we did with them, and it's handled independently through an accounting firm. So if you look at those, all total, $395 million plus in total impacts in 2018. I told you we served 357 distinct companies. Not all 357 of those companies is surveyed in 1 year. You can't survey a company that once every 12 years. We would wear them out if we surveyed at the end of every project. And there's a timeline. If we do a lean implementation, usually we won't survey them. MEP will not survey them until after about 12 months to give the lean time to settle in and then to see the results of it. So really we survey about half of that every year, about 150. So 150 companies reported almost $400 million worth of impacts. Here's the number that I'm proud of, and it doesn't show up. First quarter of 2019, our surveys totaled over $205 million, which is over half of what we did the entire previous 4 quarters. And the new jobs and created jobs for quarter 1 of 2019 was 467 jobs. The number that we don't talk about, look at a statistic from the National Association of Manufacturers in 2016 said in Alabama, the median salary for manufacturers is $54,000. If you look back at what we did in 2018 with 2,653 jobs, that's over $142 million worth of economic impact in every community in Alabama. That's significant. We don't talk about that enough. But we are talking about it as we report it to MEP. So this is last, we kind of looked at one of the companies want to do business with us. Talked about return on investment for the fees that companies invest in our training. There's about $130 return on investment from them for every dollar. Client satisfaction, our focus is on the client satisfaction. On the front end of contracts, we meet with companies to discuss what their expectations are of the services that we're providing from the standpoint of if it's a reduction in downtime of 20%, improving uptime, that calculates to a number. It calculates to a quantifiable metric. We had that conversation on the front end with the client, and then we had that conversation on the back end after we delivered to make sure we've met their expectations. So client satisfaction is important to us, and we think it's measured in our impacts also. I'll talk a little bit about some of these. Number 4, staff expertise. We've got almost 1,000 years of industry and ATN experience with the staff that we have. Very proud of that experience. A deep talent pool. You look around, we're a network, we're a state network with the community college system, we're a national network with MEP. We had the ability to collaborate and work together, and that is a strength for us. And our peers recognize that in the MEP system. Confidentiality, we're in a formal agreement with MEP to protect some things of client confidentiality, some of their data. 7, 8, and 9, we talk about customized service, on-site delivery, and flexible scheduling. And we're nimble, we're agile. Our delivery consists of 4 hours to 5 days. We're in and out because the industry can't afford to shut down. And our model is to get in and do rapid skill enhancement and get out, get on the way and get about their business. The last thing, and I've already covered that, is accountability. We're accountable as an organization, with the ACCS system, but also through MEP, as well as we're an ISO 9001 company, so we have our own accountability that we track as part of that. So as Chancellor Baker mentioned, we are being reviewed. This is our year 3. Our federal funds are competitive funds. We won that award 3 years ago. We have an annual review every year. Year 3 is one of those milestone reviews. We will be reviewed by 3 other MEP centers, Nevada, Idaho, and Oklahoma. They're my counterparts. I interact with them. I know them. They're different than us. We have a 54-page document that we prepared. It's great sleeping material, but we prepared it in response to give them an overview of what we do. They have submitted 8 questions to us as a result of those 54 pages, and they recognize the strength that we are as an MEP organization, and they're really interested in our level of partnership and working with the community college system and what it takes in terms of retaining and recruiting employees or workforce. So Chancellor, thank you for this opportunity. Board members, I appreciate it and would welcome any questions or comments.
I'm going to do something risky, because I haven't mentioned this before. How about giving us an example? I see Matt sitting over here, Matt Rogers, and y'all are working together on a project in Troy, I believe. Kind of reduce it down to something where we understand exactly how that works and what you're doing.
So we had the opportunity to work together in partnership. What we have in Troy is a company approached Matt and says, okay, Matt, forgive me if I'm not going to try to offend you, but says we got a need. Matt recognized he didn't have the expertise. And so it's a natural partnership. So we partnered together. We called it after the name of the company, a university. We put together a customized training program to the college, or to the company. The college is offering the training. Matt and I are in an agreement together on how we provide those services. And we delivered 26 weeks of training to the company. And then we were invited to a success. It was their industrial maintenance employees. It was a customized program that took them through electrical, mechanical components, welding. Like I said, it was 3 days a week. Those employees attended it on their own time. The company didn't compensate them. They came on their own. Started out the program with 20 individuals. We ended up with 9 at the graduation ceremony. The company rented a restaurant in Troy and really treated those employees well. Recognized their commitment to the company, and at the end of the night says, in recognition of your commitment to this program and how it's going to benefit our company, April 1st, all of you are going to see increases in your paycheck. So and that was phase 1. So we're in conversations on phase 2 now. Phase 2 will consist of a little unique. We're going to be pulling in some students from a local high school who are going through a career tech program there, and this company wants to get a pipeline with the high school. So we're going to actually have some high school students who will be coming in for some of our training alongside their staff. So it's a great partnership, but that's not the only one. There are other opportunities where we work together around the state. And again, when I speak to the host colleges or the colleges in general, it's what's taking place in the workforce. It's a team effort. It's a team sport, and I'm proud to say that I'm on this team, and we've got a good team.
Question, Keith, what is generally round numbers? What's your operating budget? I don't recall it.
So it's 4.8 million, and then we get $1.8 million from the feds on the MEP.
So what we're hearing is that they've generated $322 million in sales on a $4 million budget.
Economic impacts.
Economic impacts, yes. That is tremendous ROI. That's what we're about, and I agree with you. We need to be tooting that horn a lot louder. Thank you for your leadership and what you're accomplishing.
You mentioned your MEP reviews. Is that part of the requirement for your ISO certification, or is that separate audit?
It's a separate audit.
And how frequently is the ISO?
The ISO, so we've just had our update on our requirement
spending money, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about how we're trying to get more money. So, it's been a good legislative session so far. We are at the midway point in the session. It seems like we've been in session for 2 years. It's been the flow of this session has just kind of been different than normal, with the special session starting it off and a lot of 3-day legislative weeks in there. But really, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. The biggest being last Thursday, the Alabama Senate took up the education budget and all the related bills that come along with the budget. And we made out pretty well in that budget. In fact, the governor's budget had some increases for the community college system. The budget that passed the Senate added an additional $10.8 million on top of that. And so we made a significant impact as we've gone through the legislative session. Some of the increases that we've seen in the Senate bill was for prison education, workforce development, credentialing and career pathways, dual enrollment, and distance learning. All those things that we went to the Senate and said, look, here's the things that we really need your help on. Pretty much all of those were funded at some level. And so we're just extremely thrilled with where we stand in the process currently. Also, there was a bill that would give a 4% pay raise for K-12 and community college employees. Certainly support that. And also a bill that provides technology funds, that would provide us with some technology funds in this current fiscal year that come from the Advancement Technology Fund that they have within the education budget. So all in all, we're talking about a significant tens of millions of new dollars as we stand currently in the budget process. Now that those bills go to the House, the Chancellor and I will be meeting with Chairman Poole and the House committee here in the near future to go over our priorities and make sure that we advocate and do all we can to keep these gains that we've made in the budget process. Really, there's of course many issues, but there's really one significant outstanding issue that's really going to determine how these budgets shake out, and that's with the Children's Health Insurance Program. That's a program that historically has been funded in the general fund. The federal government picked up 100% of the cost the last few years. This year, the state has to put a match in again in the governor's budget. She put that in the education budget. The general fund budget has passed the House without money for CHIP. Education budget has passed the Senate without money for CHIP. It's got to be funded, so where does that funding come from? So that's really, as I said, the last really significant chip to fall in terms of how these budgets play out. But all in all, again, we're just thrilled with where we're at currently in the process. Also wanted to give you all an update on the apprenticeship bill. I believe we gave you an update on that previously. That was a bill that was introduced early in the session. We had no input on that piece of legislation prior to it being introduced. After review of that bill, we had some significant concerns about that piece of legislation. We spent the next probably 3, 4, 5 weeks working with the governor's office and other parties to try to come to a consensus. We did so, and I feel like it's a much better bill than where it started. And that bill actually passed, the substitute bill passed the House yesterday. And really what we did is, while this office would still be under the Department of Commerce, we've been added in multiple places where we're going to have input. Not only input, we're going to have significant involvement in this process as it moves forward. And again, we're very pleased with how that turned out, and we support the substitute bill as it came out. I got calls and texts from legislators making sure we were okay with the bill before it moved forward. So I think that says a lot about the influence that we have over there, and the fact that they're looking out for us and making sure what they do doesn't negatively impact the community college system. Lastly, I wanted to mention one other piece of legislation that was introduced free speech on our college campuses. The issue arises, I'm sure y'all have heard some situations nationally where some certain people have not been allowed to speak on certain campuses that very controversial individuals. This is an attempt to try to, I guess, eliminate that at the state level. We have significant concerns about that legislation. We've heard from college presidents who also have significant concerns. And we're in a position, we don't typically do this. I've never done this since I've been here, but there's a public hearing on the bill this afternoon, and I will be speaking in opposition publicly to the bill as it stands now. But we have to take that position as it stands. I've talked to the sponsor of the legislation. He is willing to work with us to come to some level where we can all feel good about it, and I think we can get there. We don't want to put a mandate on our colleges where they would not be able to deal with significant emotional issues that folks may have trying to speak on campus. So that's a bill where we're going to be working on. Like I said, I'll be speaking on it today. But I think I'm hopeful we can get to a position where it will be acceptable. So, plenty of other bills we track, but those kind of significant bills currently, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Susan Price. I guess Susan to talk a little bit on a list of 2 or 3 different items. One, the president's summer conference and what we're proposing to do there. I feel good about. Also briefly mentioned the university program. And I think you ought to give a little report on the professional meeting that we held at Alabama State at the last board meeting. And then whatever else you want to talk about. Limited time.
In the interest of time. So I'll cover those 3 things. Good morning, everyone. Let me start with the professional development day that we had on April 10th. First of all, I want to thank the board members for their support. Again, your willingness to change the location and time of your meeting worked so nicely with what we had scheduled at Alabama State on that day. And I want to thank those of you who were able to adjust your schedule so that you could sit through the morning session. I think we all found that extremely worthwhile. I also want to thank the presidents for their support because, again, they had to figure out a way to get about 1,650 people down to Alabama State. It was no easy feat. They also had to make arrangements for their colleges. Most of them did not hold classes on that day. And we just appreciate how quickly they could come together and make all of this happen with a very, very little incident. The report that I'm hearing is that for the most part, individuals were very pleased with the conference. As you know, we had Dr. John Roosh. He was an excellent speaker, as well as the Chancellor, Antonio Holland. I think people certainly enjoyed that piece. But they also, as faculty members, really enjoy the opportunity to get together with other faculty members in their discipline to really start talking about student success, to share some of their challenges, to also share best practices. That is not in isolation. That was kind of a kickoff for them. And over the next several months and certainly into the years, those individual discipline committees plan to get together, work on curriculum, work on other items of common interest. What was so good about that is this is the first time that we have been able to get them together to talk within their discipline committees, and they were extremely pleased with that. So all in all, it was a really good day. It was a hot day. I can't vouch for the food. I think that was the biggest concern and criticism that I had. It wasn't the best food, but that's okay. The fellowship made it all the worthwhile. I also want to thank ACCA. executive committee for their participation and great support and financial support for this, the Instructional Officers Association, which really took over the afternoon session and did a great job facilitating the various discipline committee meetings. And certainly there are some amazing people here in this office who helped put this together and did a fantastic job. So thank you for that. So I think I'll start with the President's Summer Conference, which will be in Mobile the first weekend of June. So you all have heard from Boone about the apprenticeship bill, which tracks really nicely with President Trump's executive order encouraging job training for America's workers. The newly authorized Perkins Act, which was authorized in 2018, will also bring more investment in career and technical education. So this is really a perfect storm for us of opportunity for the system, and we need to be prepared, make sure we're prepared to rise to this opportunity. The Chancellor asked me to reach out to Dr. Susan Burrow, who is in charge of the agenda for the President's meeting this year. And it turns out that she was actually thinking along the same lines. So much of the focus of the summer conference is going to be on these new opportunities, educating ourselves and putting together a plan about how we're going to move forward. Dr. Casey Sachs, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Community Colleges at the Office of Career and Technical Education and Adult Education for the U.S. Department of Ed, that was a lot, will be the featured speaker. And she was also a featured speaker at the State Directors of Community College Systems meeting in Orlando a couple of weeks ago that the Chancellor and I attended. She is really impressive, a wealth of information. She's going to provide an update of what's going on with respect to apprenticeships, as well as an update on Perkins 5, and anything else that's going on at the federal level that we need to know about. And just for your information, she's the former Vice Chancellor of the West Virginia Community College System, and her focus has been workforce development. So she's the guru that led a statewide effort for career pathways, expansion of apprenticeship programs, and work-based learning. So she comes with great experience and great information for us. Additionally, when we were in Orlando, she shared some information with us about ability to benefit, which we really hadn't clued into. And there is a great opportunity for our system to rise to that occasion as well. So we will talk a little bit about that at the summer conference. In addition to Dr. Sachs's presentation, we'll have a workshop on Perkins and the apprenticeship bill, and that's going to be jointly conducted by Nick Moore from the Governor's Office and Mrs. Mara Harrison, who is the president of Golden Inc. And that's a consulting firm in Florida. Mara is a former teacher. She's extremely knowledgeable about the President's efforts to support apprenticeship, as well as Perkins. And quite frankly, she has been a go-to person in roundtable discussions at the White House. And we are very pleased that we have been able to work with her. I don't think that Boone tooted his horn enough. He and Roger and Mara were really the critical factors to change that apprenticeship bill and get it into a position where we can be really pleased. So the system is poised to reap great benefits here, but we have got to be prepared. We could not ask for better timing, a better venue, a better opportunity to learn about assessing funding for workforce training, and frankly, to emerge as a leader in this country. So trust me when I say that eyes are on Alabama in a good way, particularly with respect for workforce development. And what we expect to come out of this conference is really the beginnings of a plan on how to move forward. Any questions on that? So let me turn to what I think the Chancellor has termed the Frank Caldwell Project. So I was contacted by Bobby Stevenson, who is the business director for Rehab Select, sometime last summer. And Rehab Select owns 5 nursing homes in Alabama. And Mr. Davis, I have you to thank for that, because I believe you met him at a reception sometime last year and asked us to go ahead and contact us. Bobby is extremely concerned, he and his colleagues extremely concerned about the shortage of LPNs at nursing homes in Alabama. LPNs are really the backbone for service providing at nursing homes, as well as certified nursing assistants. Now, this has been a growing problem, as you all know, with respect to healthcare providers for several years, but regarding LPNs, it's become more acute in the last couple of years, really because our system is producing far fewer LPNs than we used to. And that's because of a decision that we made a couple of years ago to really merge the LPN and RN track programs. Now, there are lots of good reasons for doing that, but it's resulted in some unintended consequences. That means that students enter really an RN program that also has LPN training. They have the option after 3 semesters to step out, take the exam for the LPN, and go ahead and practice as LPNs. But what's happening is they're continuing through the program because they want to get that associate degree in nursing. So we're not graduating enough LPNs. Bobby and some of his staff met with some of our presidents and me last summer, and he painted a really desperate picture. Frankly, they could hire every LPN we graduate and they'd still be lacking significantly. They could hire every certified nursing assistant we produce and they would still be lacking. The other thing that he talked about is Nursing Home Association is willing to put up dollars. They're willing to support through scholarships, help us with marketing, advertising, internships, etc. Basically, they came to us and said, we want to be good partners with you. Tell us what we can do to help support you in producing more folks who are trained for the jobs that we have. So when I got back, I got with Jeff Lynn and his team, and it just so happened that he has hired a rising star to oversee health programs in our system. I don't think he's here today. Is Kenneth Kirkland? He's not here today. Okay, he's working on this. So Kenneth got to work in a hurry. He's already had meetings, some discussion with the Nursing Home Association reps. They like some of the ideas that he's presented. He's come up with a pathway that will include certified nursing assistants as well as LPNs, an opportunity for people really to step out and become LPNs, and propose some ways that the Nursing Home Association can contribute to supporting these students. Now, this is really still in discussion. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, a lot of communication between our office and our nursing faculty and directors, but I want you to know we're responding, and the Nursing Home Association could not be more pleased. So, you might recall that we did not include nursing faculty in the professional development day on April 10th, and that was intentional because we were working on this issue, and we knew that we needed to set some time aside to just focus on these critical issues. So Kenneth is working on a plan. I believe that that day is going to be scheduled for October, hopefully with some better food. But he will be back in the next couple of months to brief the board in more detail about our plans and our partnership with the association. Any questions? Chancellor, I think that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Do board members need a break? Can we go straight into work session? Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Once we adjourn, we'll go into work session, 5-minute break. Our next board meeting will be in this boardroom, June 12th at 10 a.m. Once again, I'm extending a hearty welcome to John Mitchell as our new board member. We look forward to working with you. Welcome back, Jeff Newman.
Thank you so much.
You're looking great, my friend.
I appreciate it. I appreciate all the texts and cards and communication. I'm going to tell you, I certainly do appreciate it. Your family and good friends and God, that's what it's all about. Thank you.
Thanks to our staff, Leila Taylor, Donna Hivley, David O'Brien, Mandy Wilkins. There was a lot of moving parts today, and y'all did a perfect job. Thank you so much. Any comments from the board? Thank you for family members that have been here, the Mitchell family, the Tantroy family. Thank y'all for being here and your interest in what we're doing.
Al.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Susan.
Hey, first First, I apologize for not being present today. I have a funeral to attend in a few minutes. But I wanted to give a hug from the phone to my two buddies, Ron Van Troy and Frank Caldwell. I'm so sad that I'm not there to give you a hug in person. But I've sent a few texts to folks that are in the audience that are going to come up there and give you a hug. And to just send my love to you guys. I'm going to miss you. And it was such a wonderful opportunity to work with you all. And I look forward to seeing you sometime, somewhere in the future.
Beautifully said, Susan. Thank you. And we're so sorry for the loss of your friend and your fine citizen, Jim Neighbors, Mayor, and Chairman of the Board of the hospital there in Alabama.